Can you imagine a world immune to all forms of cancer?
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for our 4th annual live stream for the cure.
And this year, we need your help more than ever.
Please join us May 27th through May 31st for 48 hours of live content from guests and podcasts around the world.
We'll be aiming for our most ambitious goal to date as we try to raise $10,000 for the Cancer Research Institute.
Please visit www.livestreamforthecure.com for more information on this year's event and how you can be a part of it. Together, we can make a difference.
Beginning ODO podcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the ODO podcast, where normal is not my specialty. I am your host, as always, the currently on break, Adam Higgins, the ODO out. And this is a show where I ramble and rant and just bullshit for however the hell long I feel like. But it's spring break. And guess what? I am giving you not 1, but 2 weeks of interviews. I know, I'm just flooding you with interviews this month. I have just an amazing conversation with my buddy Matt Heyman from PreRecorded Live. And honestly, I couldn't leave it all on the cutting room floor. I could not. We said so much, and there was so much we got into that I just had to give it all to you. But you know what? I don't think you want to listen to me for 2 hours in a single stretch. So, for the next 2 weeks, I am going to be giving you my conversation with Matt. And honestly, it splits pretty well because the topic and the subject matter really shift. And the second half of it is very, it's pretty, I'll just say, we talk about food a lot in the second half. And so I'm saving that one for next week. I'm going to do something I normally don't do, though. I'm going to give you kind of a trigger warning. And I'm not giving you a trigger warning because it's really a graphic episode. I think the only other trigger warning I really ever gave was for the episode about the incident which happened to me 10 years ago. And the Cliff Notes version, robbery, bat to the head. I got a big scar now. Other than that episode, just because heavy subject matter. Well, we get into a lot of things in this episode, and I will openly admit that this episode is probably one of, we talk about a lot of much heavier subjects than I normally do, and not even on purpose, but we just get into a lot of kind of heavy sort of topics, but we do it in a very lighthearted manner because we are both those kind of laughing our way through grief kind of people. And so we'll be talking about, in my case, that particular incident, or in his case, him having cancer at one point. We're sitting here cracking jokes and making and laughing through these things. But naturally, they were very stressful and traumatic times for us. And so we have this sort of discussion about these different things. And in classic me guest interview fashion, we're all over the place. And if you aren't listening, if you skip through my interviews, if you've never listened to a guest interview with me or me in general, I start at A and end up at W. And really, if you listen to the beginning and end, you will no clue how we got there. But it follows a certain progression. But we go from my standard talking shop, and I'm sorry, I know I do it every guest. We talk shop, we talk podcasting because all of my friends are podcasters, and these are all the people that I invite on at this point. All the people I know are podcasters, and these are the only people that want to talk to me. So we talk a little shop, and we just roll it, and we go from talking podcasting stuff to general tech to home repair to, and it snowballs, and it just flows into a lot of fun, different crazy things, and we're laughing and joking and bullshitting. And okay, I guess my other trigger warning, I'm just going to say, he had testicular cancer. So there's more ball talk in this episode than I've ever done. And normally I don't. I don't know why. I just don't do testicle humor, but it was just, it played through. And so, yeah, there's a lot of ball talk. Sorry. So all of this longest pre-interview intro I've ever done aside, if you feel like maybe this stuff might be a little too heavy for you in a general sense, again, we're laughing and goofing around. But if you don't want to hear about, cancer or kind of innate fears or whatever, we got into all sorts of different stuff. But if you don't want to hear that, feel free to listen to Food Talk next week because that's the bulk of that is going to be food, really. And so we'll get there, but I just wanted to get that out there. And before I jump into the interview, because I'm bullshitting this whole time, and again, longest intro I've ever done, are a couple events coming up that you need to know about. This week, currently, as of release, is the 5th Sunshine Summit. That is Heather from Sunshine and Power Cuts doing her awesome, crazy biannual thing where she sits down and has these awesome conversations with a lot of really awesome people, a lot of creators, a lot of people just talking connections and friendships and just bringing people together as the beacon of sun out of the southern hemisphere that she is. And the full schedule for that and to watch live, go to sunshinesummit.live. Of course, links are in the show notes. And you heard at the top of the show, the live stream for The Cure. That is the 4th annual live stream for The Cure, which is put on by the Epic Film guys to fight cancer, which, considering I have a cancer survivor here on the show this next couple of weeks, is rather fitting. That is their big thing every year. They're going for $10,000 this year. I forget how long they're going. Every year they extend it. They're going longer and longer, more hours, more live streams, more guests, more games, more craziness, all to fight cancer. So go to livestreamforthecure.com, check out the streaming schedule, donate. They always say, together we can make a difference. So, big pregnant pause, breath there. I'm going to stop going for now, and I will let you get on to listening to the first half of my conversation with Matt Heyman from PreRecorded Live. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Tired, but that's kind of a just general state of being.
I understand that. Been there.
We have such different levels of tired and reasons for it. I don't know if we can compare tired.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
I've got general dad tired. You've got like life post-cancer tired. I don't even know what you kind of tired live with.
Well, that's not really a super big issue. It's more that just like I just get tired very quickly.
Yeah.
It's not like thankfully I don't live life like a zombie where I'm just constantly in a state of fog, but like I don't know, takes like maybe an hour or so of like doing anything mildly intense before I'm just like, oh my god, I could use like a 6-hour nap.
I wish I could have a 6-hour. I wish I could have a 2-hour nap. What am I saying? But again, that's dad tired. That's kids
right,
don't leave me the fuck alone tired.
That's a whole different game.
So, yeah. So I like clean feed here.
Yeah,
it's super simple.
That's really nice. When we ever do guests again, I might have to use this. Yeah. I would have to figure out some way to get all our feed onto one track and then get the guest on the other track. So I basically have to run the audio out from my speaker into the mic input for mixer, and then run the mixer out into the microphone of my computer.
I feel like I could talk you through this in a much simpler manner. Is that cat destruction behind you?
Yes. The fat boy.
That sounds like that particular brand of asshole that...
Yeah. He's like, get this back scratcher off my table. He's mad because I wouldn't hold him.
Oh, yeah. I have to banish the cats from my office when I'm recording because my wife's cat likes sitting on my keyboard.
Yeah, I know. Our cats like to play with the foam heads on our microphones. So whenever we're recording podcasts and we have all the mics out, like they just want to be up on the table and grabbing at them and headbutting them and biting them and all that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Fun with cats. Yeah. I was complaining to my wife about her cat the other day because there was a meme or something. It was like decoy keyboard seems to be working, and it was a keyboard sitting on top of the desk and the cat laying across the keyboard, but he actually had his actual keyboard on like the slide out keyboard tray on the bottom of the desk, so he's using that while the cat sits on the top one. And I'm like, good idea. I need it. I wish I had a desk that could do that again. But I was telling her, I was like, yeah, he'll lay on my keyboard and then he'll lock out my password because he sat there rolling across the damn keyboard. I'm like, great. Now I have to restart. Like I have to do a cold, like hard restart because the cat froze me out of my fucking computer. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I've had cats restart my computer in the middle of the night, and it's tragic, especially if I forgot to save what I was doing before I did it.
Yeah. That's not a fun thing to find out. So, officially speaking.
Yes.
If you haven't figured out, I just bullshit through the show, so I have no whatever.
Oh, that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if Skype is using my webcam or my microphone.
Well, actually, just on your track line.
Yeah.
Your little gear right there.
Yeah.
That's where you select your mic.
Oh, okay. I see it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, is this working?
That sounds a little better.
And this, which is better?
I feel like this is a blind eye test.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I have two listings for my mixer. One is the communications line in, and one is the line in.
Yeah, I've had that fight with this the first few times I was using it. It's like it took me a couple of tries to figure all of this out, but for the sake of like when it comes to what this does, like okay, it connects you and it records you. That's all I needed to do. I don't need any of the other fancy stuff, and I definitely don't need video. And Skype is a massive resource hog. And every time I've used it, the files at the end have been super glitchy because of like Skype auto ducking and shit like that. And then you like, I hate dealing with Skype. I fuck Skype.
I have this issue with my audio driver where usually when we're on Skype and trying to record at the same time, like just randomly the audio driver must switch over to Skype and then not keep running in the background with Audition, because our recording, like the line, the track keeps moving on Audition, but like no audio is actually being recorded anymore. And if we don't catch it, it's been like we've had like an hour long interview where we're like, oh crap, 40 minutes of that was great, just did not record.
Yeah.
So I am happy to learn of something else.
Yeah, I've only ever heard. It's weird how in podcasting Skype is still the default, and it's like it's the default because non-podcasters know what Skype is,
and it comes pre-installed on their phones.
Yeah, but it is the absolute worst thing. Well, it's like the second or third worst thing to record with. Like Zoom.us is apparently god awful, and Zencaster, which used to be really good, once it got really popular, I think they just like their servers couldn't handle the load anymore. And they went from being the greatest thing to record podcasts with to garbage. And editors curse anybody who uses Zoom or Zencaster now because like, do you realize the amount of audio drift that you're giving me? And oh yeah, Zoom, apparently the files it gives you back, because it's basically like a web conferencing platform.
Right.
So like, it's not meant for that, but the audio quality is just trash. It like hardcore compresses it. It auto ducts the shit out of everything. And like, I've only ever used it for like somebody wanted to do a call, but not like a recording. Like, oh, I want to, it was like an interview kind of thing where they're for like print kind of stuff.
Right.
And they were like, okay, which is where or like, hey, can we just have a chat? And they want to use Zoom or use Skype or something. It's like, okay, fine. I don't record through Skype or Zoom or any of that because it sounds like ass. And again, audio drift apparently is like, I can't, especially because I ramble on for an hour and a half, and an hour and a half with even the slightest bit of audio drift is a bitch to correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun.
And another thing about Skype is like, for it being like the default conference or like, communication thing for this type of thing, it's weird that it doesn't have a way to export the tracks in itself. And it's also weird that it doesn't really interface with audio software all that easily.
No, it doesn't. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I've actually had better luck. Well, before I found CleanFeed, because I have my interface now and I have the mixer that I used to use, and my mixer was just a cheap Behringer, like it was like a one mic. I think it's like 5 inputs, but it's like, a bunch of, the RCA plugs, and it's like, oh, but it had loop back on it. So what I would do was I'd plug basically just a jump cable, just an audio cable from that mixer to the second line on my interface. I would run the output, and I'd use Facebook Messenger and just do it and just connect that way. I'd open up Reaper because I can record the individual lines separately.
Oh, nice.
But then I'm dealing with if there's audio glitches, then it's coming back at me through that or whatever. And Facebook does the auto ducking too. But it was a hell of a lot cleaner than when I would use Skype. And again, I'm recording it all. But it was like, okay, well, it's like I'm going to go out through my interface into Facebook. Facebook's going to come out to the mixer. Then the mixer's going to go back into the interface, and the interface is going to go back to like, lots of wires on a very crowded desk, but it worked.
Right.
It worked very well, but it's a lot of wires. And if I can just, click, CleanFeed here, click here, and select your mic, and here we go. And then just download the file, and happy day.
When we moved, I swore to myself I was going to like set up all the podcast stuff in my computer real clean and like make sure all the wires were like not just chaos. And of course, moved in and started putting it together, and like 15 minutes in, I'm like, fuck it. I'm just throwing it together. Like, I'm not going to sit here for 4 hours organizing cords, because you plug something in and then you get 2 more plugs down the line and go, oh, this cord is a different length. It doesn't fit with the rest of them. It doesn't line up, or it's in the way. And is there another place to plug this in? Oh, we're going to have to move this. And I was just like, nope. Like, once it's all in, it's in, and it stays that way.
Yeah, I had that when we moved in here, is that I went from using a very cheap, like there's like $100, rolling computer desk, super cheapo crap thing that I've had since I first moved out of my parents' house. And, with the little rolly tray for the keyboard and all that shit. And like, this thing doesn't have enough space to hold a monitor and a printer. And this is what I used to have all of my gear set up on. So it was just super crowded in the old house. But the old house was our bedroom and all that was too small for this big ass desk that I had received. I think my brother gave it to us when they moved. We're like, oh, we can't take this desk with us here. You want it? And so we took this desk, and it didn't fit in the old house. It just lived in the garage for the last 4 years. But here I've got an office, and I was like, oh shit, I can put my nice desk, and it works really well for all this. And I have my mic stand and everything bolted, and it's got a nice little lifted area. So the monitor's raised up and the, wire, but it wasn't really meant for a computer. And I ended up putting the tower under the desk. Like, okay, fine. Well, again, not meant for a computer, so there's no way to run wires to all of the things. So I ended up just taking a wood paddle bit on my drill and drilling a bunch of holes in the back of the desk just to run the wires down the back.
Been there.
It's like, it's not the nicest looking, and I probably could just get something to cover it over for appearance's sake, because they're really ugly holes, but it works. And right now all of my wires are off my desk, other than like the one coming off my keyboard. I ended up, because it's so far between where my working area hit the front of the desk and all the way out the back of the desk, down underneath to the computer tower, that I ended up having to get a wireless mouse. Because otherwise I'm like stretching all the way up at the top of it just to be able to click something.
That's the exact reason I had to get a wireless mouse, is because in the last place once I got my computer set up, I realized that I would use the mouse, and when I would let it go, it would just start sliding back towards the back of the desk.
Yeah.
Cause it just wanted to I think there was another cord that was like sitting on the mouse cord. And every time I would like have to pull the mouse back up,
it's just the extra little bit of weight keeps pulling it away. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a super short mouse cord too. I was like, oh shit, this isn't, like, I had to be super careful when I was running it out just so it would make the stretch. And like, no. Like, all right, I just need like a cheapie, like got an Amazon Basics wireless mouse. Like, no, it fucking works. That's all. I'm like,
yeah, I just got like a $10 Logitech.
Yeah. Like,
it doesn't have much of a range on it. Like if I sit at my desk and I just hold my arm out away from the sensor, it loses all functionality.
Yeah, I think they're usually meant for those cases where, like, my ex-brother-in-law, he had his computer connected to his TV. So, and they would run, all of their things, and they'd like run games, or like their Netflix and all that stuff was through the computer.
Yeah.
To act to the TV. Yeah. And so he had a wireless mouse and keyboard sitting tucked in a little pocket of his recliner. So that, like, oh yeah, I just pull this up right there. And I think my dad actually had a similar thing. It was in their bedroom, and their tower was connected to the TV. And they didn't even pay for cable at the time. They just did everything through their computer. And just like, all right, tower sits behind the TV, a wireless keyboard and mouse sitting in bedside table. And like, all right, I don't need that kind of range.
Becky and I have not had a proper living room in like probably since our entire marriage. Like, we've never, like, no, that's not true. There was one like 2-year period where we had an apartment that actually had enough space to where I could have my podcast space and a functional living room. But we had our TV from that time went down, and we never replaced it. And I have a TV that I hook up to my computer. Plus I have 2 monitors.
That's something I need to get. I really kind of want to get a second monitor, or get a much larger one than what I have. But
I love my 3 monitor or my 2 monitors and a TV setup. I can't recommend it enough. It blows some of my friends who didn't know you could do that, blows their minds. Like, they come over and they're like, whoa, how do you have your TV hooked up to your computer? And I'm like, are you for real? Do you not live in this time?
Like nowadays, you can do that just with HDMI.
Yeah. That's all this is running through. My computer just happens to have 2 monitor outputs and an HDMI output. So that was like one of the ways I convinced Becky in this place, or in our last place, to buy the projector for our home theater. Is we were talking about, like, she was like, I want to have a living room, and I was like, okay, but we don't really do much in the living room, like, generally if we're watching something, like if we're not in the bedroom relaxing, where I'm at the computer, like half watching, half working. So we don't really have a living room proper. Then I was like, this projector and a screen is cheaper than a TV. And I was like, since we only need the living room really to just like do something that we can't do otherwise. Why not make it a theater experience instead of just like a TV in another room? And she was like, oh, I'm totally down for that.
I never thought of it that way. And what's funny, like that would actually almost work for me, because where our TV currently sits is a like 9-foot wide white wall, because brand new house, everything's white.
Right.
And like I could easily just get a projector, like ceiling mount projector, and drop it in and just shoot on that wall. But at the same time, my wife wants to put a hanging cabinet there for more DVDs and video game space, because right now the only system hooked up in the living room is the Xbox, and we still have the Super Nintendo and a bunch of other stuff, and all those games it's the only stuff we haven't unpacked is the retro game stuff, because it's all supposed to go in that cabinet, and I need to get some special hardware to mount that cabinet. But if I do that, then we couldn't get a projector. Then again, I don't need a projector. Then again, we even talked about getting a bigger TV. So I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, projector, like the projector we got as an RCA from Walmart, it's like $70. And then the screen's like $40 off Amazon.
Yeah.
And you got to mount it yourself, but it takes like an hour or two, as long as you have two people doing it. You just do it the right way, logically, to tension mount it. It sucks that you got to put a bunch of screws in your wall. But like, because the projector I got, they sent it with like basically command strip things, and I'm like, I'm not suspending this from my wall with command strips. I'll go get some cup hooks. And so that's what I did. I just got 36 cup hooks and just framed it out and stretched it. There it sits, and it's great.
I cannot believe they would send it with something like that. Like,
yeah.
The cabinet that I'm needing to mount comes with 3-inch long, like hardcore, like super thick threaded, machine bolts that basically are supposed to go through the back. There's like a thick, wood bar at the top of this thing that supports it, and you're supposed to bolt that straight into the studs. And that the only problem that I'm having is that wall that it's supposed to go on, the spacing of the studs doesn't leave that shelf centered. And damn it, if we're going to have that up there, it sure as shit better be fucking centered.
Right. So you got to get some brazers.
Yeah. I was like, all right, I just need a 2x4 to run along the end here, paint it white, and bolt this to that. And on top of that, that'll also mean that I can run the wires behind it, because as it sits right now, it would sit flat against the wall. Like, I put the 2x4, now I've got gap, and now I can put this up there. But I still need to do that and paint it and do all that shit. And so I haven't even built the shelf yet just because of that. Like, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I find in my life, if I ever have to make a trip to an actual hardware store, that is the longest and most procrastinated trip I will ever make.
I have no problem. The problem with me going to like Home Depot or Lowe's or something is that I'll start window shopping. And so I'm like, oh, well, I could get this, and oh, this would be great, and I could do this with this, and I could do that. And I'm like, I'm here to buy a 2x4. Like, I don't need to go perusing through security gates and go. I don't need to be in the lawn and garden section while I'm over in lawn and garden. I was like, well, I could use some food for the lemon tree. I mean, like a nice seed spreader would be nice right now.
See, I have a similar issue, but like my issue is that like whenever I have to like have a project to do something, if the part isn't at like Walmart, which is a place we end up shopping more than I'm comfortable with, just because it's open 24 hours and cheap.
Yeah.
If the part isn't at Walmart, I can't just, while we're at Walmart, go like, oh, I just gotta stop over here and grab a thing. If it's not there, I have no idea when I'm actually going to be able to get to a hardware store. And that also because like the problem with most of my projects is I forget about it until I see it. Like I walk in the like it took me like 2 weeks to get a curtain up in the laundry room because I had to go buy a new step stool because the window was too high. And the step stool we have is like, we bought it for Becky because Becky couldn't reach the tall stuff that she needed to. So it doesn't support my weight. So it's like, we got to go get a footstool that can support like 250 pounds because like, I can't step on yours. I'll break it. Like it says, not if you're to exceed weight over 200 pounds. So this, every time I'd walk in a laundromat, I go, God damn it, I got to get a footstool so I can put up that goddamn curtain. And then like, it just kept going and going and going. And one Sunday I walked in, saw it, was like, God damn it. Then I walked back out and I looked at Becky and I go, what do we have to do today? And she goes, nothing. I go, wrong. We got to go to get a footstool so I can put this fucking curtain up.
I have like that really sort of, that kind of stuff really hit us in this house because we went from kind of standard house height. I think it was like maybe 8-foot ceilings, something like, it's like its ceiling's not much above the door, to this house has like 10-foot ceilings in even like here in my office. And like I had to buy a special ceiling fan with a drop mount on it because we're like, no, they were like, oh, if your ceiling is this high, you need to drop it down at least 6 inches to get circulation in your room. We're like, well, fuck. And like, I couldn't hang something as simple as like putting up the curtains in here because this fucking window is so high. I had to stand on one of our bar stools. It was the only thing we had tall enough for me to reach over the window.
I too am a bar stool stander. That's how we hung up the movie screen. I just like put 2 bar stools there and I just had like stood akimbo standing on 2 bar stools. It was like, all right, hang it. And then I would be like, all right, get down, move them over 2 feet, then do it again. And the same thing, like we have this, our living room has this closet, but we have like 10-foot ceilings too. And this closet is only 7 feet high. So we have this closet in like the one on the one side of the room, but there's a 3-foot gap above it. Like just nothing. Like I guess it's storage space, but it's weird because it's
like
just like
ductwork or something.
No, it's like, it's literally like the room has a bite taken out of it. Like the whole rest of the room has 10-foot ceilings and walls that go straight up. But then there's like this like 6-foot closet, 6 by 2 foot closet on the like back side of the room that it goes 7 feet up and then it just levels off for 2 feet and then it goes to the wall and then goes back up 3 feet. So that's where we put all our board games and stuff. But when we did that, we weren't really thinking about what it's going to be like when we suddenly want to play a board game where it's like, all right, good thing you have your step stool. But like, if I need to get if I want to get something down and Becky's not here, I'm like, well, time to climb up on a bar stool because it's the only thing I know that'll support my weight because me and my grandpa built it.
Yeah, we've got the fortunate thing of, because we have a counter height island or like bar height island in the kitchen. And so we're like, all right, we need bar stools here because this is wasted sitting space. And when we first moved in, we didn't have our dinner table yet. So we're like, okay, we got to eat somewhere. So we got bar stools and we also got a bench. And so we've got a long bench for like the little boys to sit on, which they almost never use. And then the 2 kind of bar stool seats. And when we did the dinner table, the dinner table seats and the table actually match the same set. So our bar stools and our dinner table chairs actually match. But we also got the bench for that. Well, I've had to use that bench. Like, again, a new house. So, okay, we got to hang curtains and we got to do all this stuff. And putting up, again, huge ceiling. So we had to get special fucking extra long curtains for the back door, for just the sliding glass door. And I had to fucking push this bench all the way over there and walk along this bench just to mount the little hooks for the curtain rods. Like, meanwhile, I have the boys handing me like my drill and all of my tools down in the back. Like, because on top of all of this bullshit, I'm not great with heights. And so, I'm standing way the fuck up here. As stable as that bench was, I don't want to be up there.
Right.
And it's still something that mystifies my wife. Is like, wait, you're almost 6 feet tall and you have to do all the high, tall stuff like mounting ceiling fans, which is a nerve-wracking experience.
Indeed.
Like, I have a ladder for that. I don't want to be up there. And I don't want to be up there holding like a 50-pound fucking motor that's hanging from this bracket. And, I have to drill holes up. I have no balance. And I'm like, no, thank you. Like, I
swear once I saw an infomercial for like a like home scaffolding for like just that thing. It was like an expandable thing and it could support a bunch of weight. But, it basically just made like a scaffolding so you could actually like lay down when you're up there. Just lay on your back and look at the ceiling and be like, I'm doing this.
I'm not good with being up high. And my wife was giving me so much shit because she didn't realize that. Like, I think the first time she saw me up on a ladder doing something, and I think it was hanging a curtain because we have like a master suite sort of space where we go from the bedroom to the bathroom and there's no door, kind of. It's like door frame, but there's like, we need some division here. And so like, and we had another house that we were in where it was like that. We're like, just put a curtain there. And so I went and got a curtain. Again, super high ceiling, super high fucking door. So, and in that case, since it's basically just an archway, the door goes all the way up to like 6 inches off of the ceiling. So I have to get massive curtains for this thing.
Right.
And like, it's not that wide, but fuck if it's not tall as hell. And so I'm up there on the ladder trying to put this thing up as high as I can. Like, just sitting there, barely holding shit together. And she's looking at me like, what the fuck's wrong? Why are you like, I'm sorry. I have to drill very carefully into something and I'm pushing off of the wall. I don't want to push off of the ladder. And it's the same reason I refuse to put the ceiling fans in unless I had somebody else home with me in case I fall off a ladder and break my neck. Because I'm sorry, I have a 4-year-old at home with me most days. He's not calling 911.
Exactly.
I mean, he might call mom, but he also might just sit there and open my phone and take a bunch of pictures. So, not that he's not smart, but he's not going to think like that. Like, look, I got a picture of Dad's head busted open on the desk. Look.
That's his brains.
No, he'd probably go get me an ice pack or something, but still.
Yeah, I have moments of like existential panic sometimes when Becky's at work. Like, I'll get a bad bout of gas and I'll be like, am I having a heart attack? What am I going to do? I don't even have a phone.
You don't need a phone anymore. That's what the internet is for.
In the moment of a heart attack, am I going to have enough wherewithal to like Facebook Messenger call someone?
To be fair, in the throes of a heart attack, you probably aren't going to have the wherewithal to dial 911.
Right, so, that's true.
I mean, that's where Life Alert comes in.
Yeah, I should probably get that. I'm old.
You're like a year younger than me.
Maybe. I don't know. I think so.
I'm 35.
Yeah, so we're about the same age.
Yeah. I mean, Rihanna calls me old all the time, and I'm only 4 years older than her. And it's one of those weird things that when you look at it, like, oh yeah, when you're in high school and your significant other is 4 years older than you, it's, statutory. But
right.
when you're like, once you are hit the 20s, suddenly it's perfectly fine.
Right.
Unless you're like my wife, she just calls me old for old sake. I'm like, what the fuck? She also hasn't changed her age in about 6 years. So depending on which of the boys you ask, mommy's 25.
Right.
Like, babe, you realize eventually the math is going to start getting really hazy. You really you only got maybe 1 more year left before people are going to start looking at you funny for that 25.
Right. Exactly.
Like, you have a 10-year-old, just saying.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I also like, I mean, at 27 though, I had the basically the 20s immortality cut abruptly short.
Oh yeah.
So I should probably go to a therapist about that, but I do live in mortal dread of my own health.
Yeah. And that,
Like every time I have the slightest thing wrong, I'm dying. Oh my God, my toe hurts. What is that? I'm dying.
WebMD, fuck, it's cancer.
Yeah. Again? God damn it.
That was I don't want to say the funniest thing, because the first time, because fuck it, this is going to be the show. But for
is this the show? Are we doing the show right now?
Isn't this the most bullshit thing ever?
Oh, wow. I feel so bad now, because I thought we were just like chit-chatting.
Yeah, well, what the fuck else am I going to do? This is what I do for the show. I chit-chat.
Right.
I'll bullshit some intro or
All
something, or not. I don't know. Maybe.
But thank God I didn't tell you about that guy I killed.
Which one?
Adam knows where the bodies are buried.
It's a good thing I don't have a map of Ohio.
Yeah.
But I remember when you all announced, okay, for those of you who don't know, and if you've been listening to me for a significant amount of time, and I say significant because it's been a while since I've talked about you guys, but you had testicular cancer. I guess you said you were 27.
Yeah.
And then, so, treatment. They removed one, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Well, they removed one, then treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, what was it, 2 years ago? The second wave?
2 years ago.
Yeah, about 2 years ago, y'all mentioned, oh, hey, cancer's back.
Yeah.
And a lot of kind of follow-ups and treatment, and hey, things are looking really great. Hey, it looks like shit's gone into remission. I'm like, fucking awesome. Like, yeah, man, you kicked cancer's ass twice.
Right.
And then, like, a few months later, I guess, I don't know exactly the time frame, you're like, hey, cancer's back again. I'm like, what the fuck? How did you get testicular cancer 3 fucking times? You're just like,
yeah, that's what I wanted to know. That's what I couldn't figure out. Is like, seriously, after the second time, I was like, well, at least we're done with this.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really have testicular cancer without testicles.
Yeah, apparently
like,
you can.
And yeah, apparently you can, because the cancer is so fucking powerful. It'll just be like, grow a new testicle and give that cancer.
And I remember because I was listening to a lot of Sans Pants radio, and it reminded me of Jackson with Sans Pants. They actually did an entire episode of Shut Up a Second devoted to him and his testicular cancer story, which apparently actually stemmed from, he had a pig. There were wildfires or a storm or something. They were having to evacuate. And They had a pet pig. Pet pig is sitting in his lap while they're in the car evacuating, stomps on his nuts, and the trauma from that impact gave him cancer, which is apparently totally a thing that can happen.
Apparently. I didn't know that.
And so he actually had to have a testicle removed. And so they did an entire episode of Shut Up a Second called Nut Up a Second, where he tells the story. I'm like, and that was, I remember, like, when y'all had your GoFundMe or whatever it was to help out with the medical bills and stuff. And I remember tagging them and like, come on, man. Like, you know exactly how this shit goes. And like, I just, the stories that they had of him going through that, like, oh, the nurses, and they come in, the way they just like grab you and fondle you, and like, yeah, I have to go back and get fondled by the nurses every 6 months just to make sure, because he's still got the one. And like, make sure that the artificial testicle, like all the rest of the guys in there talking about how, yeah, man, your fake nut feels really weird. Like, y'all are way too close, just saying.
Yeah, they asked me if I wanted fake nuts, and my question was, what does it do? And they're like, well, it's like aesthetic. And
yeah,
I was just like, do I have to pay for it? They're like, yes. And I was like, then no, you bastards, no.
Like, I'm sorry, male genitalia aren't pretty looking anyway. Right. What are you going to do by putting a silicone ball in there?
Oh, and like, honestly, like, my whole thing was, I was like, I know it's going to drive me nuts to like feel that foreign object in my body all the time.
Yeah. I mean, like maybe you get used to it, maybe you don't. And it's really one of those, like, is it going to feel right?
You ever get like a phantom splinter? I'm just saying, like, sometimes I'll feel like I have a splinter, but there's nothing there. But like I run my finger over and it hurts like a splinter, you know, like I'll tweeze it. I'll put like lights around it. I'll do anything I can to try and see if there's something there, but there's nothing there. And that's what I feel like, prosthetic balls would be like, is I would just be sitting around all the time being like, there's something there. And I mean, I know that I would know they were prosthetic balls, but it would just be like that feeling of like, I know I should just ignore this because it's nothing I can do about it, but it's bugging me.
I feel like it'd be weird because you'd feel it. Because, I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
The guys out there, you're not consciously aware of your balls unless something makes you think about them.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You are uncomfortable. Something is like, they're just there. It's like your arms. You don't feel your arms unless something's messing with them.
Yeah. If you feel your arms, something's wrong.
And I feel like, yeah, like you would feel the fake balls and it wouldn't feel right because you'd feel it versus normal. It's like normal sensory perception of your body. You don't feel you. You're aware, but you tune it out because it's just you existing. But something that's attached to you would be weird.
Right. I assume the nerves in the scrotum are not like, they're not set off by the balls. Like if the balls are moving around in there, there's nothing going like, hey, something's going on in here. But like if you put a foreign object in there, then suddenly everything's going to be like, what is that?
Yeah. Like, oh, yeah, it's just like, how long does it take before those nerves are like, oh yeah, it's that fucking thing, man.
Yeah, I still get phantom like ball pain. Like every now and again, it just feels like I got like sack tapped, and I'm just like, Becky's like, what? I got phantom sack tapped, like because that's the only way. That's exactly what it feels like. Like, but just the nerve endings, the nerve endings just decide to like kick on for a second. They're like someone's running a systems check, and they're like, check on the balls, and like no, there's no balls here. They're like, red alert, no balls detected.
I have a friend who lost his leg. He was about 6 years old. And so he ended up like run over by a train, lost.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, they amputated from like 2 inches below his knee. Apparently the train ran over his ankle. They amputated from 2 inches below his knee. But like, he says he still gets like phantom pains and phantom feelings sometimes and things like that. And I can only imagine like what like phantom ball pain would be like you just suddenly feel like somebody kicked you in the sack when you're like, wait a second.
Right. You're not doing anything. You're just like hanging out, like playing a video game, and also you're like, ooh, ow, who did that? Why?
And what about the subconscious? They say like men get like it's been psychologically shown and tests and stuff that like the reason why men cringe whenever they see like it's not even like it's an involuntary reaction to cringe and kind of clutch your stuff when you see another guy get hit in the balls.
Oh yeah.
And they actually showed like even somebody, if you don't like physically react, that like psychologically your brain is actually in panic mode and you have that like fight or flight response. And they've shown it like, yeah, it's like, it's this weird sympathy pain all guys have for seeing testicles in danger. And we're like, this is such a weird thing. We're like, I wonder what that registers like for somebody with nothing to be in danger.
Right. It
like,
does.
Do you still cringe and you get like that phantom pain from watching a wrestler get, a nut shot?
Yeah. The only thing I can't like change and can't get over, the only thing that's still like hangs on from my previous life, other than just like sympathy ball pain and phantom sack taps, is referring to it as the area as my balls.
Yeah.
Like I just can't not do that. Like I tried for like a day to be like, oh, my sack.
That doesn't sound right.
Doesn't sound right. I was like, I still need to feel like a man. So I still call it like, I'll just be like, yeah, my balls are sweaty. And Becky will be like, What balls? I'll be like, don't you fucking talk to me like that.
And that is the sign of a loving wife who, like, she's going to bust your proverbial balls every chance she gets because the joke writes itself.
Right.
And I'd be ashamed, especially of Becky. I'd be ashamed of her for not taking that joke.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she's got a million of them. I'm sure she like brainstorms them when I'm like asleep or something. Like when she's up in the morning drinking her coffee, she's like, what are some good ones I could pull out of Matt if the opportunity arises? Yeah, like amputation is something that terrifies me. Like I would never want to have like anything amputated because I just don't know if I'm like, I don't know if I have that like courageous spirit to overcome like adversity. Like if they just like cut off like a toe, I might be like, wheelchair, just any wheelchair from now on. I'm not going to learn how to walk again.
Like, it's just a toe, man. You might limp. What the fuck? Yep, I need a wheelchair, electric wheelchair.
Yeah, give me one of those ones that's operated by blowing into it.
Like, oh look, you got some gangrene in that toe. Take the leg.
Yeah, I have legitimate like terrible existential fear about like losing one of my senses. I get like ringing in my ears sometimes, like every now and again, which is totally normal for a person aging. But like as those cells die, I always have like a moment of panic where I'm like, what if this is it? What if this is the moment where I'm about to go deaf? I can't go deaf. I'm a podcaster. What am I going to do?
I've surprisingly enough know both blind and deaf podcasters, and I don't know how. Like, I know with one, she's only partially deaf, but I know like of a few completely legally blind podcasters and a couple deaf podcasters, and I still don't totally understand how that works. Like, okay, wait, you can't hear, but you create audio content targeted towards other people who can't hear.
That's amazing.
I'm trying to match that it is a thing.
That's like magic.
Yeah, it is a thing, and and I'm sure if I were to actually dig deeper into it, there's more involved. But at the surface level, it's a whole lot of confused puppy looks, and they're like, huh, what? But hey, I'm just like, I know Kate from Ignorance Was Bliss. She has been progressively losing her hearing. Apparently she's like I think she said she was diagnosed hard of hearing at like 16, and she was supposed to be wear hearing aids and things like that. And between the case of, just general cost and insurance and things like that, and just getting fucking used to it, her range of hearing, she basically can't hear much outside of human speech range. So super low things and super high things, she actually can't hear. And like, she edits her podcast visually.
Oh, wow.
She, like, for the most part, content edits and little ums and all the little shit that people pay me to do, she can't do, or she doesn't do, because she can't really hear it.
Right.
She just like, here's where the conversation, chop this, chop that. And she just, piece things together.
That's amazing.
But she said before, she really like doesn't listen back and doesn't edit her shows because really detail edit her shows because she really can't listen to it without having everything cranked up to 11. And it's still the craziest thing to me. Like, you can barely hear our conversation, but you're like, you do an interview based show when you can hardly hear. And it is kind of an amazing thing to think about. Like, but hey, people, people do it all the time. I mean, I know a blind guy who was a graphic designer. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, see, those people are heroes. Like, they're legit heroes because, like, I swear to God, if I went blind, I would just quit. I would just be like, just take me out to the pasture and put a bullet in me, bury me under the old oak tree. That's the end of it for old Matt. Because, like, I don't think I could learn to function again.
Especially as an adult. I think that's where the hardest thing is. I mean, you never know until it happens, but like, you think about it in just your general mental state. It's like, I don't know how I will cope.
Right.
And it's one of those, especially like when I got hurt was 10 years ago now, when with the robbery and the head trauma and like, let's bust his head open with a bat and all that fun jazz that happened. My first thought wasn't me. My first thought was my wife and my son.
Sure.
At the time, I just had the one. And it's how things change. But my first thought was she's going to be so scared if something happened, if, my first thought wasn't for me and me being afraid oh shit, what's happened. Well, okay. My first thought was I was just shot. Am I dead? And not having the wherewithal of thinking, if I'm thinking, am I actually thinking or am I dead? Or what is this all like? And it turns out I wasn't shot. I was just smashed over the head with a baseball bat. Cause I guess the living is easier side of that, but like I know impact to head and they're gone now and I'm bleeding a lot. But first thought was, oh shit, he actually shot me. I'm dead. I was like, nope, the other guy hit me with his bat, which in the grand scheme of things, better.
Yeah, definitely.
Cracked skull better than splattered one. But
yes.
All of my first thought, like driving to the hospital, besides me being an asshole and sitting there bitching to the paramedics about how rough the ride was. It's like, I'm sorry. Comedy is my coping mechanism.
No, I get it.
And I'm sitting there like, I knew for a fact that we were about a half a mile from a hospital. This is the hospital where my son was born. The hospital that my stepmom worked at. You're like, oh, no, we have to go to Memorial on the other side of the town because that's the trauma hospital.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, motherfucker, we could be 1 minute away from the hospital. No, we have to drive 20 minutes across town through fucking lumpy roads. And you're going to take every lumpy fucking road. And apparently ambulances have really shitty suspensions.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sorry, I'm strapped to a gurney with a neck brace on and I'm feeling every fucking pebble, you assholes.
Sure.
And sitting there giving the paramedic shit. But yeah, it's like, I wasn't even thinking about me. I was thinking about my wife and all that. And it's like one of those things when it's just you can be selfish and you think about that. But when you're like, oh, you're married or you have kids and then you start thinking about, well, what's going to happen to them if something happens to me? Like, I've had family members with cancer and I've had, lost family members and like, what would happen? Like I really don't worry about myself. If something happens to me, I get super sick. I get cancer. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about what the fuck's going to happen to my family. What is my wife going to be going through if I like, not even if I died, what if I went blind, if I was blinded or I had an accident at work and lost a limb, like what's that going to be like for my wife and my family and their quality of living if I become impaired and cannot fulfill my duties as I do them now. And it's like, you start thinking when it's like, again, when you're single and you're just, you're 20 and invincible. You worry about you. And then suddenly you have another person in your life that you care about. And you're like, well, fuck, you suddenly don't really care. It's like, fuck, kill me. But but
yeah, like that's I seriously that's part of the reason why I just don't think I could cope is like if I were to lose a sense or something like, if I were to go blind or like blind especially terrifies me. If I were to go blind, like I just can't imagine Becky having to deal with like me coping because I'm not going to be a good coper for that. Like so much of what I enjoy and what I do, like necessitates vision as far as my perspective is concerned.
I don't know. I was just thinking about that. It's like you are a very much a general purpose nerd and general purpose nerd things are all very visual. Like I don't know how blind people appreciate comics other than just the story, but I couldn't like, again, I have no experience with this and I don't want to sound insensitive to blind people, but other than, hey, that's a great story. I don't know how you can get all of the like experience. Like, I don't know how a blind person may interpret a comic book versus just any other novel or any other short story. Yeah. And like when you're like, a nerd guy and that's your thing, we're like, well, that's taking such a big chunk away from you.
Right. Yeah. And like, I rely on my sight for cooking. I rely on my sight for like, just doing generally everything I do. And I know that's like a no duh. Blind people get by doing it without it every day.
Yeah. It's like, wasn't there a blind person that won Top Chef or something like that?
Right. And it's like, no, but here's the thing is like, I spent 35 years heavily relying on visuals. like, I don't think like they say the other sites heighten as, like as one, you lose one, but it's like, yeah, but like I've been put a lot of it, like to quote from our show from this week, in terms of like how we were defining things, I've put a lot of experience points into touch and to like touch specifically and hearing. Like I can smell things pretty good, I can taste things pretty good, and I can see things really good. But like, yeah, like touch and hearing, I don't have a lot of experience points in those that I can rely on. I'd be a level 0 character again. I'd just be like a big 35-year-old baby, just like complaining to Becky all the time that I can't see, and I'm having trouble coping with not being able to see.
Yeah, but I mean that's also the post-traumatic stress sort of level of the, was it the stages of grief type thing, and like going through all that before you can come through and figure out how to deal with it. But I mean, it's like eventually you'll figure it out and eventually you'll be able to do everything. But in the meantime, I'm scared and I feel like shit.
Yeah. And I'm going to cry about it. I'm going to be a giant baby. I am a total giant baby. It's kind of amazing.
But we get to be big kids. And I still it was funny. I took one of those stupid Facebook surveys this morning, and it was guessing your age by the food you like, and I got 24. Like,
nice.
like all right, I can't pass for my age anyway. It's like I've got that like Irish fairy blood or something where like we don't age in my family. None of my siblings, none of us could pass for our own age if we had to. My wife hates it. Because she'll get carded when we go to grocery shopping and I don't, and I'm older than she is. But it's just like, we don't age. And so it was just really funny that it put me at 24. It's like, well, I guess this is kind of the age I look. But, like, mathematically speaking, if people guess my age, it's because they know I have 4 kids. And so I was like, yeah, that's the best I got. It's like, you look at my oldest sister, she's 41. And if it weren't for all of her tattoos, you wouldn't be able to guess that she's 41. And like her daughter looks, she looks closer to her daughter's like 22, something like that. Like you have an adult daughter who like people guess your age is closer to hers, and they guess hers is closer to jailbait.
Right.
Because again, she's got that not aging thing going on, so she still looks like a damn kid, even though she's a burlesque dancer.
Yeah, see, I got the bald patch on top, like where it's all thin, and like obviously I'm like nearing 40, so I don't have that Irish gene. I have the Irish gene that allows me to only grow chin beards.
Yeah, I've got that too. Like, nope, I've like. The Mexican side of me gives me thick, dark hair, but it only grows in that little beard thing. Like I have a goatee because the rest of it never fills out. Nah, I'm good.
Right.
I get that sort of a Joe Dirt feel. It's like, so you're telling me you're so ingrained with white trash DNA that your facial hair just grows in all white trashy like that?
I have like a 17-year-old's beard that I've been growing for like 5 years. Like I never shave. Like I shave like once every 5 years because that's when my beard finally hits like the 1.5 inch point. I'm like, it's too long. Like my facial hair just grows so damn slow. Which sucks because I really want to be a beardy boy with like a big full beard, not a like long one, but a big full one. And I can't. This is too Irish. Too leprechaun for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit. I'm sorry. I'm doing the things. that you're going to cut out, but I had something I was going to say and I forgot about it, which is typical of me.
Yeah, that's what editing's for.
Yeah, it was something going back to something we were talking about earlier, but I forget. Shit. Fuck, we were talking about.
We can't remember what we were talking about.
Yeah,
we were talking about a lot of things. That's what I love about the just randomly throwing you into bullshit. I seriously, like, you know who Chris Hardwick is.
Yeah.
You know, like, have you ever listened to Nerdist, or what it's now the ID10T?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I basically do my interviews the same way he does. I push record and don't tell you. Like, we just start talking because
right.
I remember him, and he's said it several times, and I've said it several times here, but it's worth repeating. The philosophy being, if you tell somebody that the interview started, they tense up and they think they're being interviewed. They think about the conversation, versus if you just push record and you start having a conversation, you have a more natural, whatever's going on conversation, and just whatever the fuck happens. And we go from talking about the technical side of how I'm recording to cancer to beards.
And I just remembered what I was going to say because you reminded me with that little speech. So those Facebook quizzes, I can never be honest, even with myself. What does that say about me? Like, even when I'm just like home alone and one of those things pop up and I decide to fill it out, I'm like so concerned that my answers are going to be like directly connected to like my Facebook profile or IP address or some way of identifying me, that I'm like, I better sound smart.
But this one is like, if the Facebook thing is tracking this and they want to start promoting grilled cheese and pizza to me, fuck yeah. Okay. Great. Like, I'm sorry if my food tastes border on toddler, but, you know, like, I'm sorry. What's wrong with chicken nuggets and mac and cheese and every now and then?
It's like one of those things where you're taking a quiz. Like, we'll just use a basic analogy so everyone understands. You're taking a quiz and it's like a Star Wars quiz. And it's like, if you had force powers, what kind of force user would you be? The choices are light side or dark side. I would be like, I probably should pick the dark side because I know the inner workings of my true soul. But because someone could connect me to this, I'm going to say light side.
Like, I'm going to lie and say I'm a Jedi, which is exactly what a Sith would do.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't even think about it like that. It's just like one of those things of like, one of the reasons I love Superman so much is because of like, I understand that Superman is not identifiable and is not supposed to be necessarily identifiable. Like, he is good to a point that I could never, ever be. And I know deep down inside me that if you gave me all of Superman's powers for one day, I would end the damn world. Like,
you would be Brightburn all of a sudden. Like, wait,
exactly. Like, I would just like, something would make me upset and I would just make I would just do something rash because of it, because I had the power. And that's human nature. And like, as much as I would like desperately in my soul want to be like a beacon of peace, justice, and the Earth way or whatever it is now, because he's not American anymore. Yeah. But whatever it is now, as much as I would want to be like this big altruistic like hero and beacon of light and hope, I know I would be like, I'm just gonna go to like bad places and fix things my way. Like, I'm bulletproof now. Let's go to some country that needs straightening out and straighten it out my way. And I would just be an evil fascist dictator within the course of 24 hours. Like, and I just know that about myself.
Wasn't there like a version of the Justice League where that basically happens, where all like Superman and all the heroes and everything, he basically, like, the Justice League become the world police and they become dictators and everything, and Superman is like ultimate god of the world and everybody's in fear of him and Batman's in hiding or they killed him or some shit like that.
Yeah, that's Injustice. That's the Injustice comic that the games are based off of, basically.
I just remember like the like gray haired Superman and like black and silver, black and white, and like Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and Flash or like his lieutenants or something, and they basically like rule the world with an iron fist kind of shit.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. That'd basically be me. That would be that's what I would do. And I wouldn't even intend to do it. It would just happen because I know how I am. I've seen me in power situations.
Like, I know what power does to me. I'm right. Totally. Yeah. It's like, I am corruptible.
I've directed short movies. I've seen what power does to me.
I think that's a pretty good place to stop for now. If you want to hear more from Matt, you can find him on PreRecorded Live at prereclive.wix.com/podcast or on Twitter at PreRecLive. Of course, links in the show notes, and you can get those show notes at odddadoutpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to this show and join the Facebook group or buy yourself some leggings or whatever you feel like doing while you're there. Don't forget, we've got the Sunshine Summit going on right now if you're listening to this early enough in the week at sunshinesummit.live, and the live stream for The Cure coming up. Again, links for everything in the show notes. I know I already said that, but it bears repeating. And coming up next week, I've got more with Matt. We're talking cooking, and we'll finally talk about what the hell his podcast is. But until then, oddballs, thank you and good night.